want to talk about a great faith in challenging times. A great faith in challenging times. It is not uncommon to face challenging circumstances in these days and times. After all, problems and concerns are all around us every day. We are constantly looking for solutions to resolve issues facing us. Once you think you have one problem solved, there is another staring you in the face. And that old song says, if it's not one thing, it's another. Amen. Murphy Law says that when anything can go wrong, it will. And if you live long enough, you know what I'm talking about. Make all the plans you want to make all the phone calls, all the arrangements, got everything set and ready, and once you think you got it all together, here comes something to almost tear up everything you've already done. My friends, we live in a time where there are challenges before us, challenges on every hand. Doesn't matter about where you live, what kind of socioeconomic level you live on. Doesn't matter about what kind of money you make. Doesn't matter about where you go to church or whether you don't go to church. Challenges are awaiting all of us. Because in our lives, we know that this is simply a part of life. For wherever human beings are, there are challenges. Wherever human beings are, there are challenges. Challenges that will challenge you. And if we're not careful, we have to be careful that we are not being a challenge to somebody else. For as we live in this world, we must make sure that we're living, seeking, and working according to God's will for our lives. Problems all day long. Problems everywhere. Problems in the home. Problems in the church. Problems in the community. Problems on our jobs. Problems all the time. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could live in a world where there were no problems? Wouldn't that be good? It'd be a wonderful thing, wouldn't it? Everybody get along with each other. Everybody working together with one another. Wouldn't that be a grand thing? If we could live in a home, or live in a community, or live in a church, or live on a work on a job where there are no problems. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But we know that's not going to happen, don't we? Amen. Because you know what? There's always somebody that won't do right. Always somebody that just won't do right. That creates for others problems that otherwise they would not have to attend. So my friends, as we live in the world, we got to understand that there are external problems and there are internal problems. Am I right about it? External problem means that there are problems we have because of people outside of us, outside of our homes, outside of our jobs, outside of our churches, outside of our communities. Amen. And I would suggest to you that many of the problems that some churches have is because of people outside of the church telling folk in the church what they ought to do. Amen, somebody. We got to be careful that we don't get caught up in letting people who are not even in the church try to tell the church members what they ought to do. Amen, somebody. Amen. That happens all the time. Am I right about it? I've been at this work for 47 years. I know what I'm talking about. When church folks started listening to other people outside of the church, I tell people all the time, if you're in the church, you take care of your own business. Take care of your own business. Sometimes people who are not even in the church start telling church folk what you ought to do and what you ought not to do. They're not even members of the church anywhere. Don't tell church folk what they ought to do. People like that I don't even listen to. You don't think enough of the church to be in the church. Don't come telling me anything about the church. Why are you looking at me like that? You know I'm telling the truth. Amen. Sometimes we let people who never set foot in a church tell church folk what they ought to be doing in the church. And some of us ain't got no better sense to run back to the church trying to do what they say. Can I get a witness right here? Y'all looking at me mighty strange. Amen. I don't think I'm bleeding anything. Amen. Somebody said my left eye was red. After I finished preaching this morning, I told them that was my preaching eye. Amen, somebody. There are external forces that come to bear on whatever we're in, and particularly in the life of the church. And then there are internal forces that get in the way of the life of the church. Am I right, church? Oftentimes there are those schisms, and there are those fallacies, there are those misunderstandings that oftentimes plague the internal fabrics of the church, the internal fabric of family, the internal fabric of the community. Can you imagine somebody outside of your family trying to tell somebody in your family how you ought to live in your family? Amen, somebody. Now that's the time to tell somebody to stay in their lane. Get over in your lane and stay over there. I'm not in yours, don't get in mine. Amen, somebody. But oftentimes, even within the family, there are those who are not working together for the good of the family. Selfishness is something that plagues so many families today. Selfishness, people in the family thinking only about themselves. Amen. And oftentimes, in the places where we work, there are people who are on the job, blessed to have a job, but making it hard for everybody else that's trying to work. Amen now. Amen. Some of y'all do work, don't you? Amen. And you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And don't get a little favor with the supervisor. Don't get a little favor with the supervisor. And don't mess, whatever you do, don't mess around and get a promotion. On the job I'm talking about. And those same people that used to sit at the coffee break and drink coffee with you, all of a sudden they don't have time anymore. And then what they'll start doing is start telling you think you're something now since you got that new promotion. And you know you're the same one you've been all the time. Amen, somebody. So as we live in the world today, we got to remember that there will always be challenges. I often say, and I believe it too, that for every blessing there is a curse. For every blessing there is a curse. Every time God blesses you, somebody's not going to like it. Amen. Every time God picks you up and sets you on another level, there is somebody that's not going to like it. As you are blessed by God in life, to know a better life, to live on a different level, to be in a position to bless others tremendously, do know that somebody is not going to like it. And whatever you do, don't give in because you want everybody to like you. Because everybody is not going to like you. Amen, somebody. Give all of your clothes away and be left with a pair of shorts and a top. Somebody's still going to talk about you. Amen, somebody. So we need to stop trying to please people and start pleasing God. We need to start trying to please God because pleasing God is what it's all about. But when we please God, we know everything will be all right. Amen, somebody. So as we think about the text, as we think about the message today, we notice that this centurion is labeled by Jesus as being one of great faith. Of great faith. Why did Jesus say that? Why did Jesus say? Why did Jesus say to him that he was of great faith? One of the reasons why I believe he said that was because of his high regard for authority. For his high regard for authority. This man respected authority. This man was one in authority. But this man also acknowledged the fact that there were those who were under his authority. And so as a result, my friends, what he realized is that there is a time and a place for authority. I never shall forget Dr. H.B. Manning, the president of Claflin University, during the time that I was a student there. Some of y'all may remember him. He told a story in chapel service one time. I never forgot it. I was a young man then, you know. I'm just a junior, senior citizen now. Amen. And he told us that, you know, on the campus as president of the college, I can fight anybody I want to fight, I can hide anybody I want to hide. He said I can also go into an area and people just seem to be intimidated by my presence. And he said if I desire, I can change a classroom to something else. I have the authority here to do as I believe is best. But he said, one day I got a letter from the Internal Revenue Service. And that letter said I owe X number of thousands of dollars. And he said that when I went down to the IRS office, he said I had my head in my hand, had my head down, and I was praying to God I could get out of there without owing a whole lot of money to the IRS. He said, in other words, when I'm at Claflin University, I'm in charge. But when I went down to the IRS, somebody else was in charge. And he said, I respected the authority there just as I respect the authority that God gave me at the university.